Welcome to Comics on a Pyre, a channel to have a meaningful conversation over movies, life, books, and shows, and maybe just a spot to spend time BSing over comics. If you like your entertainment with a bit of substance, then you, my vagabond friend, have come to the right tavern. Tether your horse by the post and come right on in and warm yourself by the fire. Tap that subscribe button, and for the next few minutes, my fellow George Carlin reprobate, lend me your ear. I have really enjoyed Marvel's The End series. Having read Punishers and read and did a video on the Hulk story after all. A video you can find right here on my YouTube channel, Comics on the Pyre. So when I saw the Venom The End one shot, I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. What I got once I opened the pages was more than I initially bargained for though. This story is immensely dense and not for the faint of heart. I was hoping for a rip-roaring joyride of action, death, and mayhem. But what I got was a slowed down, encyclopedia-like read. Some panels were so thick in fact, with superfluous dialogue, sepulchral words, and hyperbolic statements. You would think that the writer Adam Warren was a pretentious Faustian. And yes, I wrote all that way on purpose. Can you imagine viewer reading a book that way? I thought this was a Venom book, not a dissertation by Reed Richards into the Ivy League alumni. But anyway, as always, I digress. All kidding aside, Venom The End is a decent read. If you are willing to reread some panels over and over and over again. And it does chronicle the end days of this symbiote's life. So with that being said, let's take a look inside the one-shot known as Venom The End. From the cover page, you could tell this story is not going to be a Venom during the times he met Eddie Brock story. No, by looking at the DNA double helix sign on his chest and wavering hand surrounded by phosphorescent balls of light, you could surmise to some level of accuracy that Venom's last days can take place in space. And the eclipse of the sun in the background is also a nice touch. Within these pages starts with an army of symbiotes that are fighting off an unknown threat off panel. But before we, the reader, are aware of who the adversaries are, we are turned back in time during the golden age of humanoid superheroes, as they are called. At the time when Venom's symbiote first bonds with Eddie Brock. You see, even though this is a Venom story and a tale of his death, what it comes down to at heart is a love story. Although a sick, tainted type of love during a time of war and annihilation. But before Venom and his counterfeit legion of cohorts get here, they were here. A clan of Clintar hive-minded symbiotes, but not yet exact duplicates of Venom. You see, each symbiote required a biological host to anchor itself to that specific point in space and time. When Venom met Brock, though, it was more than just a parasite finding a host. Venom fell in love. Each time a symbiote bonds with that host, you see, that host DNA is encoded in a genetic codex of that symbiote. And since the symbiote has bonded with thousands of organic life forms, whether it was mutants, humans, Kree, or other foreign alien species, it stores in its DNA databank the genetic codes to a plethora of life. This information will play a significant role in the final days of Venom's life, so pay attention. But with Eddie, for some reason, the bond was different, and Venom chose to extend the life of Brock, and he lived way past his normal human lifespan. During the end stages, though, when his body eventually began to break down and deteriorate, Venom tried to rebuild his body's internal structure, forming neurons and dendrites where once there were none. By doing this, though, Venom opened himself up to all of Brock's memory and truly experienced authentically what it was like to be human. Seeing his first pet, his first dance, and his first love. Venom stuck with Brock until his spirit left his corpse, and then, in an act of solidarity and respect, extracted his tendrils of superficial life support and watched the one being he ever loved crumble to dust. Thus chronicled the end of the Golden Age, which was consummated by the final extinction of Earth based humanity. Now, this is really where all the superfluous subquipedalian hyperboles come into play. And in short, this began the apocalyptic robo-genocides. The beginning of the epoch where machines started to take over. Their plight was to exterminate and digitalize, imprint all living life forms. Venom, driven by the threat of extinction, sought to unify his fellow symbiotes into one strong coalition. But acting in solidarity was not in his species' nature, and thus, this is where the DNA databank proved resourceful. By using Jamie Maddox's DNA, aka Multiple Man, Venom was able to duplicate himself and fashion his own literally identical army. By spreading his Maddox cells across the multiple galaxies, he is able to seed himself into billions of new hosts, creating instant self-containing biospheres, creating whole worlds where beings are no longer born, but grown like wheat in the field. Now, the species known as the symbiotes that were once close to extinction thrived and proliferated. But that, it seemed, was not enough. By tapping into the mutant gene pool even further, Venom was able to splice genes and combine the aspects of the DNA he liked to create even further, stronger, more resilient symbiotes. And none too soon, for the time when the world-conquering machines came for him and his race was at hand. A great battle ensued, each side trying desperately to gain the upper hand, but in the end, the result was never truly in doubt. In Venom's final days, he performed a selfless, self-sacrificing act. The symbiote reached into his own tesseract structure and pulled out all the archives of his genetic codex on every host he has ever inhabited, releasing them back into the universe in their proper time stream, therefore creating a new, freshly germinated Venomverse. In the end, having no host meant that the symbiote could not survive, but maybe the mortal lives of the ones he had loved once could. Or maybe I'm wrong. This story is dense after all. I may have gotten some of the things wrong, but hey, I tried. But if you enjoyed this video, visit my YouTube channel, Comics on the Pyre, for more accurately translated comics into videos. Tap on the bell icon before you go. And oh yes, as always, until next time, keep reading, my friends.